Hello, everyone. Welcome to this uh, very special session, which is a hybrid actually between two of the sessions that we run in the Future Now community. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Guzman. I'm located in Costa Rica and I am an innovation facilitator. Joining me today is my partner in crime, Olesia, and
Yeah,
the
hi.
mastermind behind this community, Celeste. Okay, the Future Now community is actually a virtual community endorsed by the AIF where facilitators from all levels can learn, meet, and support each other. So, our goal is to create a space where people can share their experiences, their favorite resources, ask for advice, and just, overall level up our facilitation skills in an environment that is safe and inclusive. And also a space where you can create connections across borders, as you may know. We all over the place. So it's interesting knowing people who facilitate in other regions because you might get some insights from them that you're not aware of. For those new to AIF, the International Association of Facilitators is a worldwide community of facilitators promoting excellence in the use of professional group processes to create engagement and impact. So, in short, the AIF, what it does is to enable powerful change through facilitation. In our community, we actually host three type of events or three type of sessions. The first one, Connect Hub, it's like a cozy little chat among friends, facilitator friends, that is. So there are no set agendas or topic. You can just join in and seek for advice, share resources, or dive into any facilitation related topic. So we'll just set the table. You bring in the conversation and your favorite beverage of choice. And since we are all over the place, you can show up with a glass of wine and the other people might have a coffee, so that's okay. The other session that we have is Connect and Share. These sessions most of the times feature a certified professional facilitator, CPF, and other experts who share their wisdom with the IAF community members. And also, members can join in and help the core team in facilitating these sessions. So that helps them improve their skills while doing so. And the last session that we run, which we are working on it right now, is the Learn and Development sessions. These are exclusive to IAF members. It's a testing ground style of session. Could be can run for about an hour, and it's designed to help emerging facilitators improve their competences. And you will get the chance to facilitate a session and receive valuable feedback from a CPF emeritus. And to give more clearance as to what a CPF emeritus is, I might ask Celeste to explain us a little bit about that.
I think that the word emeritus says it all, right? It's the top of the progression within IEF for professional facilitators. So we start as CPFs, it's a credential, and then we can get our master CPF, and then the last one will be the emeritus CPF. And along this journey, we need to prove ourselves using the IEF competencies and really promote the power of facilitation worldwide. So when we talk about emeritus, it's really people who are really very, very, very experienced and knowledgeable about facilitation and have lots of stories to tell that we can learn from. And that's a privilege to have those people in this community to support and give feedback, because feedback is our it's a gift, right? It's the breakfast of talented people. It's the breakfast for champions, and we all want to be champions. So it's an opportunity also to practice our skills and get feedback from the auditor. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Celeste. Okay, now before we begin the session, as facilitators, obviously we'll have rules in this community. So I will just like to point out some agreements. We welcome everyone. Everyone is valued to us. We embrace diversity in all of its forms and ensure that everyone feels respected and included here. Obviously, listen to understand, truly hear others before you reply, so we can have a more thoughtful conversation. Share the space. Be mindful about your talk time. Encourage others to participate, to share. And if you feel like you've spoken a lot, just, make some room for others. And as always, stay curious and open. Approach these discussions with a learning mindset and be willing to explore different viewpoints. So that is for me. As I mentioned, this session is kind of a hybrid between Connect Hub and Connect and Share. So unofficially, we are having today our first sharing hub session. So we'll see how it goes. The idea today is for anyone who is willing to share with others their design process. How not to reveal exactly, the magic behind their process, but what is the step-by-step that they follow. So we can all learn from each other. So I've shared a link to our mural room, to our mural board, and I will share it here in the screen. And just to show you how we might expect to have this this session going, I'm going to ask our very brave and first volunteer, Olesia, to share her design process, because it's a very interesting one. Olesia, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. When we discussed a design process for this session with Brian, and we came up with the idea of a mural, I had no idea that it will be so challenging to actually transform my feeling and intuition about how I create a design for a specific session into steps. Because, in my head, it is chaotic. It is kind of, I don't know, it is built on instinct. And it was interesting because I believe that right now I better understand what am I doing before the session. So let me have like 5 minutes in order to explain how my head works when I prepare any session. The first specific about my work that you should know when I describe my design process is the fact that I work at university and my area of expertise is foresight. And usually any session, strategic session or foresight session or expert session is only a part of a big project. And usually a lot of people are joining from different organizations. It means that we have a client. It can be a government, it can be a big tech company, it can be NGO and something like that. But for participants and people who are actually joining these meetings, they are from different companies. We are trying to get as many stakeholders as possible. And it means that people who are joining, they usually, sometimes they know each other, but often they do not know each other. So it means they are very different. From different school of thoughts. They have different experiences, and it can be tricky to create the common ground for their work. So how to design a process is how I design an agenda, create a design for a session with a lot of very different people. Like sometimes it's like 100 people. So what is tricky about a first meeting with a client? I believe that the main magic is actually make these people, sometimes it is one person, sometimes it's different people. It is important to understand what these people actually need. Because, sometimes they have an understanding, an idea of what they want, but sometimes during our first meeting, we understand that what they want is not what they actually need. And it is better to have that understanding during first meeting and not like in a month, like a week before a session. So I believe that the key component of first meeting is a lot of questions about how they work, what do they need, what is the final result for this meeting, and how this result will be used during R&D process, during understanding what is next steps for this specific government, ministry, company, etc. It's not very important. It is important they understand what they are going to do with the results of this session. And the next step is creating a concept. Like, I need to understand how this big result is actually what are parts of this result. And I believe that it is important not to work on one result all day or several days, because everyone needs to feel like they create new puzzles. Like it is a big puzzle, but people need to feel that they achieve a new result. They achieve something new every an hour and a half. And I believe it is important when every an hour and a half we begin with some retrospective. We look at something big, we create a lot of ideas, and then we choose the best one. So it's like every half an hour and a half, we begin something new. We work at it as full as possible, look at it from different sides, and then we have some concrete and measurable results like every an hour and a half. So people feel like they are moving forward, they have new ideas, new results, something that they will be useful for them after this session. And it is important in the end, show how all these results, how they create a beautiful, big, and great picture that can be transformed into a roadmap or action plan or something like that. So yeah, we are. It is, and during the concept stage, it is great to actually show this part for our clients so they can understand how their ideas transformed in the specific results. And then it is important for me because usually we invite a lot of different people to join, is to gather a team of people who will be part of our session. And these people, everyone is important, even if it is a timekeeper, a person who shows how many time is left for the person who has a presentation. But everyone is important. And it means that I create a scenario, a design for every specific roles. And it is important that everyone knows what he or she doing in every moment. But moreover, they should know what any other people of different roles are doing in this moment, because it means that these people should be able to help each other if something goes wrong. Yeah, a person, every facilitator with every group should understand what is volunteer doing for his or her group, what is fixator doing for his or her group, because they should feel that they are partners, maybe partners in crime, but they are helping each other. And it means that they need to gather the shared knowledge of what is going on. The next, and this is a part that I try to involve as many people as possible in the process of choosing facilitation instruments, because I believe that this is a very creative process, and we need to understand how to keep people entertained. They need to be active. It should involve a lot of different interactions, but also the discussion should be very focused. So it's not like, we finally joined the meeting. We talked a lot about different things. No, we need to have a very specific understanding what is the result, and we need very focused discussions. For example, my favorite instrument is World Cafe. I believe it is so fun and it is so interactive. But it usually means that we have a person who is responsible for result in every group. And I believe it is key in order to keep people focused on the result, but actually give them an opportunity to move and change the view a little bit. And then I believe we need to have templates and instructions. And it is templates that are gonna be filled during session, and we need instruction to every person who is involved. And I believe it is better to have written instructions, but sometimes if I have a team of people who work together a lot and they know each other and they know me, and it means that we share mutual understanding of what should happen during every meeting. But when I talk about templates, I believe that it is important in order to have people who are with different expertise, from different point of view. I need to keep them focused. And usually templates, it's like something, we have some business tasks and we have some areas of AI development, and we ask them to find some specific AI instruments that will help them to work with this specific business task. Something like that. I believe templates is the specific questions that should be asked during session, and it also some pre-work. Like I prepare some recommendations and some ideas that people can use during their creative process. And I wrote down rehearsals, and I believe they can be important. not only to help people to know each other better, but also to help find some weak points in the design. Because, sometimes people need to move from one room to another, and it can be tricky. Maybe it will take way more time that we expect. Maybe it will be some challenges with, I don't know, not enough chairs, or maybe not enough markers, or maybe the screen is too small, and from every part of the room you cannot see clearly what is going on the screen. So I believe rehearsals are a way to actually find some potential disasters and a way to be able to prevent them as soon as possible. Like, I better know that something will go wrong, not in the middle of the session, but at least 15 minutes before the session. And this is how my brain works. But if I need to give some recommendation, like one key, like one life hack, what is the most important part in design process, I believe it is important to have a P discussions. It is important to involve as many people as possible in the design process, because it is so many nuances and so many opportunities. So if even person not a facilitator, but maybe it is part of a project team, and they can have some great insight. And I believe that it is great to discuss it with different people, and they have different ideas. So yeah, I believe in order to create a great facilitation session, we need in process also have some different facilitation sessions. So guys, this is how my brain works. It can be not ideal, but maybe it was useful somehow for you.
Thank you.
Maybe you have some questions. Maybe something is not clear. Maybe something is weird. Yeah, Cassandra.
Hi, this is very helpful. I had a question about the peer discussions. Do you mean that you find it important to ask uh, potential participants what their reaction is to the design, or that you feel like it's important to include opportunities for peer interaction and discussion during the session? I wasn't sure exactly what you meant by that.
Before sessions, and I would like to say that it can be very insightful when potential participants join this kind of discussions, because sometimes there is conflict that I do not know about, and people are not comfortable talking, but any participants can, you know what? Actually, if these two people in this group together, yeah, you're gonna have an argument or something like that. So yeah, I need to have it before the session, like maybe it's even several weeks in advance, like several of them. Sometimes I invite people who are not a part of the project, but they love being a part of facilitation sessions, and they are maybe not experienced facilitators, but they are curious and they are creative. Why not join? Let's talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, and I want to say that there is a lot of different. So you also can join and fill out the mural. You can type in your name and write how your brain works, and share your ideas a little bit later. And Celeste?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing with us your process. And I would say that when I compare mine with yours, I say, wow. And why do I say wow? Because you have this opportunity within the scope of your context, really to connect with people that will participate and give you feedback and build all of it together. In my situation, and probably with others as well, sometimes we are a little bit more lonely in the space. We connect with a client face with whom we have these conversations, and then probably we can check it out with a colleague with whom either we partner or with whom we always get some good feedback, or someone who is our mentor. Well, and that's it. Yeah. So this when you say that you get the opportunity to check it out with participants, it's amazing. It's very good because it's a way also to engage them in the process. And I really like it. However, as I say, sometimes I am more lonely in that space. And what I do, just to build on it, is really to check with others and have sometimes a plan A, plan B, and plan C, because once I get in the room, either virtually or face to face, then I start to have some hints, some feedback, some reactions, and I sometimes need to adjust what I designed in plan A to incorporate something from my plan B and potentially from my plan C. Yeah. Yeah. That just sharing with you my thinking on top of what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Celeste. And maybe, Brian, you will please share your process.
Yes. So, as Olesha said, you see there are other options there. If you want to feel, take a space and just go through it, I will say it's a very interesting and insightful exercise to do, because you start wondering, like, wait a minute, I'm so used to doing this that I need to take like 2 steps back and go over it, because at least that's what happened to me. So I'll show you guys my process. I'm going to summon you all so you can follow me. Okay, so this is my process, and actually, let me just find an Avanti said that looks like she understood that we were going to discuss design thinking, and she's interested in learning that. We can do a session about it, no problem. But I might take the opportunity, to explain a little bit of the design thinking process behind my process, actually, because my background is in design. I studied advertising and marketing, then work in design, visual design. So there's a little bit of design thinking behind my process. So the first thing is, meeting the client needs. What is the problem that I have to solve? This is the first meeting with the client. I do this through a discovery call. It's not a 30-minute discovery call. It's a 31-minute discovery call. Why I do that? It's because it's intriguing to people that it says 31 minutes and not 30. So they immediately ask me, your calendar says 31 minutes. Why? So you can see from, what we just met, I'm always going to give you extra. And they're like, oh, nice. Let's keep talking. So we have a discovery call. Again, it's a 31-minute, not set in stone. We can just go to 45, or, if the person seems enjoyable, it might take up to 60 minutes. So it's a 31-minute session. We have I ask him, what's the situation? Tell me about it. What's your problem? And actually, it's obviously an interview. Since I come from a design background and have this design thinking knowledge, I know a little bit about interviewing clients. So my discovery call might be a little bit different from others because of that research knowledge behind it. After that, I create a project brief that I send to the client to see if I got everything from that call or if I'm missing something. And there might be a little bit of back and forth between because they just review what I sent, and they notice that there was something missing that we didn't cover during the call. So I just send that brief to the client, and once everything is clear up, I go through an ideation process. So the first thing to do, at least in my process, is a brain dump. And if you want to know what a brain dump is or how to start with this technique, there's a little link in here. So bottom right corner in this image, I will get you a link to the brain dumping technique. So I just brain dump whatever comes to mind about how I might run the session. And then I need to update this because I don't call my chat GPT is not chat with T. I call him chat with D. Chat GPT is my hire to assist me in the ideation process. So I ask him to generate at least 2 or 3 versions of the workshop. And if you want to know what that prompt is this one here. Actually, that's the one I use for, wait a minute, why is it blocked? Shouldn't. Well, I'm going to, it's all locked. Then I'll unlock it then later. But this is the one that I use. That is the description from the brief. So that is, don't worry, we'll just get rid of it. So this is the prompt that I use, and I do that like 2 or 3 times, asking for different variations. Because as Celeste mentioned, once you are in this session, you get different insights from the participants, and you might need to adjust the session that you design. So having these 2 additional ideas might give me some room to adjust my agenda a little bit more easier and faster. Obviously, I don't use the sessions as ChatGPT gives it to me. I obviously go through it and just make adjustment and change, pick from the other sessions, probably exercises that I feel would fit in more easily within the final one. So I work on a first workshop draft. I decide just the final agenda, and once I have everything set up, I ask the client to join me on a call so we can go over it. So I just don't send them the proposal. I go through it and just explain what the process will be so they don't have any surprises. Whenever it's possible. Other times they just ask me to send your proposal, and that's it. But most of the times I ask them to join me on a call and I will explain them the process. So once I get approval, I just send whatever needs to be done, the contract or whatever. I just send that in an email and we just run the workshop session, gather feedback at the end of the session, and actually have some notes from the last workshop. I gather feedback from them on that day, and a few days later, depending on what kind of workshop it was, it could be a few days later or a few weeks later. I email the client back to see what's going on, see if they continue to work on the results of the workshop or were not, and then I send them once they reply to me, I share a Trustpilot link so they can leave a review there. And that's where I connect. I gather all my reviews from my clients. So it's a website. I use a free version. It's kind of expensive, but I use the free version, and I just ask them to leave a review there, so other people can see or know about my work. And that's my design process. I don't know if you have any questions about it. Yeah, Celeste.
Yeah, you know that I like to speak, so sorry for that. But I like this point in your charter when you say that you ask for a call before you send the proposal. I think that's quite powerful. And why? Because on one way, it's an opportunity for you and for us, for me, because I do the same, to check understanding, get commitment about the process itself, and also to avoid that if I send it right away, I may find some resistance or defensiveness or questions that may disrupt the relationship even. So I like it very much. So yeah, that's my comment about it. And I also do that, and I see that as a major differentiator to guarantee that the proposal it's accepted without further questions, and they already understand what we're going to do and to offer and the outcomes and all that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I actually have sessions where the client itself tells me if we can just try a different process here or technique. I don't know if people will feel confident on doing that. So I can tell them like, okay, why? Because this, and that, and then based on that, I pick another exercise that they might feel more comfortable with. But yeah, any questions, doubts, or whatever from the client, you can just clear that out in that call. Just make sure that people understands. Once you send the proposal, you have an ally within the organization.
Yeah.
So they become kind of like your seller inside. So that's what I do it.
Yeah. May I ask a question, not only for you, but also for the other people in the room? Because today we are in this world of AI, and ChatGPT and other platforms are being used for this specific purpose. I am not such a user yet, but I would like to hear from you how effective, or how does this really influence your first brain dump, your first exercise, your first thinking about the session? And it's for you and also for the other people in the room, because I believe that probably others have used that already. So I'm curious also about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll let anyone else go first if they use AI when designing a session. I'm also interested in knowing that. So no one is using AI yet for.
I may use it to, like refine something that I've already developed, but I don't really trust it to like do the design for me.
Okay.
If I need some tweaks, then maybe I'll use it, but I mean, it, I need my voice and my ideas represented.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tend to use it for research,
Okay.
but I don't tend to use it for design. I think similar to what Christine was saying, I feel as a facilitator, it needs to be me in some respects. But that's not to say I'm a Luddite. I'm not going to use it. I do think I like to use the tools, but it's more for researching things and trying to find stuff out.
Exactly. One thing that I think the AI could be used is in wrapping up final conclusions and ideas in order to create like a mm, uh, um, next steps process or something like that in order for you to not to write a lot, but gather all this feedback from your participants and then let, for example, GPT make like a final review of all the ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So my brain dump, that brain dump exercise is actually the first idea that I have as to what I would like the session to be. So that's actually my voice in it. That's how I go. It's like, okay, I think I can try this. I try this. And I sketch. I don't have one here, but no, I think I do. Well, it's a paper over
Yeah,
there.
but you have a prompt here. So I was reading it, the prompt that you have here, and it's very complete. It's not about design me a session about design me a team development workshop. Yeah,
No.
it's not about it. Yeah, it's a team development work, but there's some food inside and thinking inside. So you're already kind of guiding it within the scope and in the package that you would like to offer, kind of, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and that's why I trust a little bit more on the output that it gives me, is because I know I'm fitting like a little bit more substantial information for him to actually give me a useful prompt. But again, that's why I ask like for 2 or 3 different
Yeah.
versions, because
And are the versions too different? Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but just my final question. And when you do ask for 2 or 3 versions, do you have really different with the same prompt?
not with the same prompt,
Oh,
but
okay.
it keeps some of the things in all the 3 versions, and it switches something else. He might gather different techniques or whatever, but it gives you like really good 2 or 3 options, and
Okay.
that's something that I do. I actually don't ask him to design my session. It's just to give me more ideas on how can I improve my my first draft, that brain dump. So it's not that I go with the workshop that ChatGPT gave me. It's just to have more ideas. It's just like having a conversation with someone else, because as you mentioned, Celeste, facilitators are like, we're kind of lonely when we work, so we need other insights for better ideas, and that's why I use it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll mute myself now.
So I don't know if someone else wants to go next and explain us their process.
So I believe Christine is still working, but John Scarla and Julian, I believe they are finished. And
I'm happy to go if that's
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just a little bit of context. I've been working as a facilitator for 10 years now. And for the first 9 years of those, I was working with lots of teams that were, so most of it's in the pharmaceutical industry, working with teams who are developing new manufacturing processes, bringing in new materials into the industry, or all sorts of probably very boring to you, but very exciting to me projects. But in the last year, I've actually jumped back into corporate life. So I'm actually a facilitator within Novo Nordisk now. It's a large pharmaceutical company here in Denmark. And I'm sort of developing an innovation community within the company itself. So that things have changed slightly in terms of the sorts of design that I do. And I've actually almost sort of fallen back on something I used to use when I was an internal auditor many years ago, which is something I learned from PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC. And it's the first 3 Ps you see there: people, process, plans. It's a fairly classic model. And the way my brain works, I find it a nice loose model is quite a good way to do it. And so the first thing I do is really to try and understand who on earth it is I'm meeting, whether it be the individuals themselves, the team, and also who's going to be in the room. Because for me, so for example, I'm working on a project just at the moment, and I'm going to have one program manager and a whole bunch of process engineers. So these are very much people who do things. They're not so much strategic thinkers. They're not sort of fluffy. They're not. So that's immediately making me think, well, who is it I'm going to be working with? The process piece for me is always about, well, what is it that these people actually do? What do they manage on a day-to-day basis? Understanding the boundaries of what they do. What are the inputs, the outputs? And that's really just trying to get a scope for everything, because the next piece then is the plan. So what is it they're actually trying to do as a team? Their objectives, all that kind of normal corporate stuff. But more specifically, what is it they want to get out of the session? And that's when I tried to start pushing them on I always call it the physical output. Of course, these days it's probably a digital output, but the principle remains the same. You know, is it an action plan? Is it a strategic plan? Is it what is it that they actually want? Or at least do they have a good idea of what it is they want? It, of course, I think somebody mentioned earlier they don't always know, and that's true. But and then, of course, you know, what's the value in that they're going to see? The other one, I never let them out of the room before I've got this done, is just the practicalities. So depending on where you are, certainly now I'm in a corporate life, you know, there are certain types of rooms, you know, are people going to have to travel from different manufacturing sites, maybe across the ocean even, all of that stuff about, you know, the people, the tools, and because for me, probably more than anything, that's the one that puts a stopper on lots of the lovely ideas I have. It's just purely the practicalities of trying to run some of those sessions. And then for me, the design process is very iterative. I think Brian was talking about that, you know, going backwards and forwards to the client. Though I have to say, there are some clients who really enjoy that process, and there are others who just say, just design me something and leave me alone, and everything in between, of course. But yeah, so I think I've fallen back on an old tool that has done me proud over the years. So that was it.
Thank you, Julian.
A stunned silence.
I'm
John
sorry,
Carlo, was that you?
question.
Yes,
I have a question. I'm curious. So this is the process you're using, and you said that you changed kind of context. So before working in the corporate world, you also did some design for sessions and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What did you change? So because the context really impacts us, right?
Yes.
So is there anything specific that you are doing differently because you are in a company?
If I maybe invert that, what was I doing differently beforehand?
Okay.
Maybe. So beforehand, I was working through an organization called Bioforum, or did a lot of work for an organization called Bioforum. And there you had, you were helping to build a team with people from a multitude of different companies all across the world. And so it was so their deliveries were more likely to be over 12 to 18 months. So you were building much more of a relationship with them and building trust within the team. And sometimes it could take, 8 to 10 months until you very slowly move them to that sort of trust space. And then finally they have the conversation that they've been what you wanted them to have on day one, but it just takes you time to get there. So I think in the corporate world, we all work for the same company, more or less. I mean, we do bring in people from outside as well. But it's more of a given that you'll work together. With these other groups, it's much more disparate. And so you spend a lot of time building the trust in the room before you could get to the topics themselves.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Giancarlo, was that a question or his hand was up?
I think.
A comment. Thank you, Julian, for. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Do you hear me? Hello. Okay. I find it very clever that you take these elements from the people, plan, processes, because I think that's a language that they can grasp and they can understand. It's not like a different kind of world, the facilitation one, from the process that you need to follow into for example, a production line or something like that. And I find it like it's a clever way to bring facilitation tools into the process, taking into consideration that there are these very strict companies with their policies and all of that. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I have to say, I don't always share the fact that I have people process plans in my head when I'm talking to them, but though I do it sometimes, depending on who's in the room. Some people, I think, as Elisa said earlier, that some people are quite interested in the facilitation process and they're keen to get involved. And, I talked to them about, I was talking to these guys the other day about clear goals and fuzzy goals, for the game storming idea. And one of the mechanical engineers, he absolutely lapped that. He went absolutely nuts for that. He said, "That's it. That's what we." So I do share that with them, but that's a little bit more ad hoc, depending on the room.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was going next in sharing their process? We have we have Giancarlo and we have Christine. So I think Christine is still working on her process. So I don't know, Giancarlo, if you want to go ahead.
If you wish,
Sorry,
I can go next.
yeah. We're
Okay,
just
thank you very much.
having coming
And
up.
well, I'm very I can, but can you hear me now? I turn off my camera.
Yeah, better.
Sorry, can you? Okay, thank you. I will turn off my camera for a better audio experience. So I find very interesting that we share common steps. For example, exploratory meetings. I will not invest a lot of time in this process, but as said before, I first make like this first exploratory meeting with the client. And I'm looking for, and then make a co-creation session with the client, make her part of the process, and in order to build this proposal for the workshop. Then I like to use the Power Framework, purpose, outcome, and what is it for the people with disabilities. It's very helpful for me using this tool for defining the scope of the workshop. Then a peer review, looking for facilitators, some friends that also are facilitators, to get feedback for my workshop, and then iterate, make it better. And then I like a lot to work with games, serious games, transforming the processes of the company, a game that they can understand better. For example, right now I'm working very close with the cooperatives here in Costa Rica for teaching and learning these concepts of cooperativism. And I'm making taking facilitation tools, converting them into a game. So it's kind of a I will not say expensive, but time consuming working uh, a brand new game for these workshops. But I think it's worth it because it's a tool that they will have for 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 a long time. And thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same, Celeste, about the power framework.
Yeah, I'd never heard about it, and I heard Jen saying P is for purpose, right? And then I missed the other ones. And
Outcome. I heard outcome.
Yeah, I
Okay.
heard the people, outcome, and the other three audio
People. I thought it was purpose.
Purpose.
or
See,
purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
purpose. Yes. 1-0. What is it for them? Engagement. Okay. And the R results? Roles and responsibilities. Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that's a great framework.
Yeah.
That's it.
And what I'm curious about the serious games, and can you give an example of a serious game that you typically use in your sessions?
Sure. Can you see? I want to show you here. Can you see my camera?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, let me turn it on again. Can you see me now?
Nope.
I'm here in the mountains of Costa Rica, so I have not very good connection.
Yeah.
Mm, mm. Let me see if I can share an image in the chat. So
Okay.
I will show you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
And I will explain it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so who do we have next? Let me see. Here it is. Christine, you'd like to go ahead and you can just probably
Oh, yeah.
finish it while explaining
Okay.
that.
Sure. Well, first off, like everyone else, I have I call it a meet and greet, the first client with the meeting. I have a consultant value conversation with them. It's where I am speaking with them not just only about, what needs they may have, but also what value I'll bring to the, whatever they need my services for. I do have a client's needs assessment form form that I fill out where I am asking questions around context, the objectives or their learning objectives. And then I come up with rational or to try to understand what their rational aims and what they experiential aims, what they want the purpose of the actual meeting or convening, and then try to understand the audience size. That's all in the client needs assessment. Then after that, I will do a follow-up email to get clarity on them, clarity on the purpose and what they want. And then if I haven't gotten that in the first call, the initial call, I try to get their budget range as well so that whatever proposal I develop is going to be right sized for their needs. And then I go into thinking mode where I just create ideas. I throw a lot of ideas on my whiteboard or in my notebook and have different colors and everything. That's how kind of my mind works. Red represents a, certain idea that, may go well. Green is like, yeah, I think this is an idea that really will work well with them. And then I do go into developing some objectives. And then I do some thought partnership with other colleagues, other, facilitators in that space. And then I will develop a proposal and send it to the client. Then I start with building and creating, working with the client planning team or the design team, ensure that we're having, and this will all be in the proposal, but we're having meetings, on a weekly basis and just working together to, design this great event that they want and creating the agenda. And then on the design part, I get to my facilitation toolkit and resources to help with understanding what process is going to work best for a particular event or gathering. I will do a run of show, and then this should also be just run the event. And that's where I got to. I can, the final step is probably a lot already what has been shared already regarding like, documenting what has happened and packaging it and putting it up really nice with my graphic designer and giving them, an actual deliverable at the end of the day. And that's it.
That's interesting.
I like this idea of having this client needs assessment as a tool, as a template. My question for you is, do you use the same template every time that you connect with a new client?
I do, yes. It's here, the context. I get the rational aims, who will be impacted by the decision. I have an implementation section,
Okay.
and then I talk about logistics, and then that's when I start with my initial design ideas and next steps.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And is there a topic in your assessment that is more difficult or more challenging for the client to answer?
Yeah. When I'm like, well, what are your deliverables? Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Or actually, I do also ask, what does success look like to you? And so that, they'll say it, but in my mind, I'm like, is that really what it is? And so I'll ask certain questions to kind of get a deeper and better understanding of it. Because I don't think, and this is another question I ask that they kind of like, oh, I'm not sure. I'll ask, what makes you different from, what differentiates your organization from other organizations? And this is in particular if I'm asking strategic planning questions, like what is it that sets your organization apart? Because that helps me know and understand, like, okay, is this their vision? Do they need to change their vision, or do they want to change their vision and mission? And so that's more so helps me, but they have a hard time kind of coming up with, well, what does differentiate me from other organizations?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Julian.
Yeah, I was just interested in the sort of variety of clients you have, Christine. Are they very, very different, or are they similar? Because I like it. I was interested in this client needs assessment thing and just how that works across different client base.
Oh, I should have given more. That's a great question. I should have given greater context. So I am a public health consultant. So I use meeting design and facilitation with public health leaders or nonprofit leaders.
Okay.
Really address some key community health, population health priorities and needs. And I also use a health equity lens in my work. So there's not too much variation with my clients. It's all they usually want to solve big public health problems.
So that sounds interesting, because I can imagine some interesting characters amongst those very passionate people.
Yes, from academic institutions to nonprofit leaders to that's really actually where it's been most so. School districts, yeah. But
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's interesting that now that Christine mentioned that when I ask the client what difference, what sets them apart, most of them think they know. I remember I used to do consulting work before facilitating, before getting into facilitation, and we had a session with a client that we use the blue ocean canvas, like the show the value curves and actually
Oh,
shows
mhm.
what your differentiation is, and they fill it out, and and they were just over the top with everything. And once they fill it out, we told them, okay, we're going to ask your clients if this is true. And when we ask their clients, when they filled the chart, they were above everyone else. And we came in after talking with the clients, and they find out that they were just right in the same line with everyone else. So it was a hard hit for them to know that, oh, so we were thinking that we were doing different things, and now you came here and the clients are the ones that are telling us you're the same as everyone else. And that was a hard conversation for them.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But actually, it was helpful for us that they noticed they were not doing much different things, because they actually became aware of, okay, we need this session.
Yeah, it lets you know what you need to do in terms of helping them and supporting them into getting to where they need to be.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, actually, and yeah, when you mentioned that the problem is that they all want to fix public health issues. That's a common problem statement from a client. And actually, one of the workshops that I run is actually a design sprint. It's a 4-day process when I take a group of people from a problem to a validated solution. And so I actually run a problem framing session before going into the design sprint, because if I go with the problem that they mentioned, well, we will just don't go anywhere, because the scope of the problem is so broad that you can just, it's hard to tackle. They overcomplicate the problem, not having like a clear statement of that. It's very helpful to have that problem framing session with them. So, yeah. So just checking. So we had Christine, Giancarlo, Lesia, Julian already shared his process. So I think we're all done. All the people who wanted to share their process did.
I cannot share mine because I'm chaotic. My process is chaotic. That's why I love you people saying what you do, because you have wonderful things that you use. You are so organized and disciplined. I am so chaotic. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. So I can tell you that I do everything that you do, but not in the same way with a client, and then I change for another client, and then yeah, sorry, but it works as well.
I think it's a good point, Celeste. I should point out I don't do everything in order. It looks nice on paper, but in here it happens differently.
Yeah, it's noisy and
Yeah.
okay, thank you. Wonderful. And I see that we have people here in the room who are quite familiar with serious games. We have you, Julian. We have Giancarlo as well. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here it is, just in case.
Yeah, I trust you. When I need, I will call you. I'm already stopped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And you know what? I believe that this mural can become a book. I believe we have different approaches, and they are interesting. And I believe anyone can find the approach that the most comfortable for them. And it was very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to ask, oh yeah, she's still here. Cassandra, I noticed that you were taking a lot of notes while all of them. So, want to share that with us? What you get out of it, and I don't know if you have a process or not. If you want to go over it.
You know, I'm taking away from this the invitation to map my process, which is something I've never done. I'm not, I won't say I'm chaotic like Celeste, but I am intuitive when I do my work. And since I work with so many different kinds of people, it's a little bit different every time. But I think this idea of actually sitting down to map it out would be a really interesting, like, reflective exercise for me. So that's what I'm taking away. But you all had great ideas. I color coded everybody's process. So thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it actually is. Because when I was discussing this session with Alicia, we were thinking about the process, and we actually had the same question. It's like, how the hell do we do it? I know I could. We both know we do it, but how the hell do we do it? So, I don't know. And when I started to map the process, I was, oh, I see. Oh,
And I think
that's
it's good. It's a wonderful exercise. Yeah. Uh, that's an
It's
excuse
helpful.
I'm using saying that I'm chaotic, but I can really, I should really think about it because I trust that if we really think about it, we can find some good stuff there that we sometimes don't even know that we do, right? And we can perfect it or change it or review it or yeah. I really love that you could share with us yours. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah. Meanwhile, we just want to have that a picture of that note-taking process that she showed. I'm curious to see it. Or
I
if
don't know
you,
if I'm brave enough for that, but trust it is madness on the page.
Okay.
okay.